Welcome everybody to the weekly Poro Report. This is the one-stop shop for all things Legends of Runeterra. Some of you may have listened to our kickoff episode, our episode 0, earlier in the week. So it's been a nice kind of short week for everybody. We get 2 episodes in here for you to kind of get the podcast moving. So if you're not familiar with us, though, I am one of your co-hosts, Smithel, and with me always is Kozer. And Kozer, like I said, it's been a short week, so what you been up to in Runeterra since Monday since we last spoke?
Grinding ranked a little bit. Finally got up to silver 2. It's been a struggle because everyone's running the same decks.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely been rough. I mean, at least get anything good from your vault from last week. Did you get to the triple diamond or?
Yeah, I did. I usually always push to get to the triple diamond.
Yeah, sadly, I fell a little short, but I was
Yeah.
like 2,000 XP off, and I was like, that's close enough for the week.
Yeah, like I had a day off last week because I was on call, so I was working way too much. So I was surprised I actually did it. This week I think it's gonna be pretty easy. I'm already at level 9 or something, so should be pretty straightforward in the next 3-4 days to get through it. So
yeah, and that, like I said, I know we talked about it before, but at least it's not too bad of a grind to max out or get close to maxing out. It's almost like if you get the quest done, you'll pretty much be there.
absolutely.
Did you do any more expedition runs, or are you still that
No,
token?
no. I got that token. I'm gonna do it over the weekend. I always spend my token. I do it for the shards.
Yeah.
But yeah, the only thing that kind of sucked is I think I purchased Karma that day, and I didn't get her in the vault, but literally opened up an Ionia deck, like an Ionia pack with a champion in it, and it was fucking Karma. And the worst part is the game makes it so you can't refund. Well, they're not stupid. It knows that I got a new Karma card, and I only needed 1 at the time, so it was like, yeah, no, you can't refund it.
Yeah. I mean, the way I kind of look at that is, hopefully one day somebody comes up with a deck where it's like, oh, you need to run 3 karmas or else you're going to be screwed.
They will.
So,
They're going to buff, nerf, and do a little bit of everything.
Well, I mean, even we've been seeing since Monday when we were kind of talking about what's been going on in the game since release, it seems like things have changed quite a bit, over the past couple of days. I mean, before we were sitting there talking about elusives everywhere. It seems like that has died down a little bit.
Kind of.
As people learn to counter it, but you still see quite a bit of them, but they're not, at least in my opinion, as much of a nuisance as they were before.
People just know how to deal with them. They're running a lot more Challenger. They're running, like I was talking to you before the show started, Purify, because that removes all the texts, so they're no longer elusive anymore. The elusive decks, I just find that there's more variations. A lot of people are running Fiora variations and stuff like that, and I've been actually running a Control Braum and Tryndamere deck, and it deals with elusives decently because I run elusives, so I basically just match the other elusives on the other board, and then get Tryndamere with a buff. If I get 2 Tryndameres, then I get the buff on him, and then he's got like 17, 16 damage, and you just wreck.
All the elusives are on Ionia, correct? Because I feel like
yes,
it's a ton of decks, but it's always something and Ionia. Shadow Isles and Ionia, Damascus and Ionia. So people are definitely
denying
still...
it.
yeah. Denies are everywhere. I mean, I'd love to see more spells like Deny kind of evolve or kind of develop as the game evolves. Just because I hate feeling like I have to run Ionia.
Yeah, it does. It does. It does suck a lot having to kind of run Ionia, but it doesn't for me. I love Ionia, so I don't really mind it. I've always kind of been running it. Yasuo, but I can't run him because he's just not good enough right now with his decks that you make. He just takes too long to ramp up. So, but yeah, having Deny is huge. But at the same point, I kind of don't want them to add it to every region, and if they do, they need to make it different. They either need to make it cost more. They need to make some alterations to it because it's too overpowered.
I wouldn't be too upset if it was something like, instead of being like a flat deny, like since spells kind of play out in a certain order, if it was like, swap, like, play this card to automatically swap a spell in your hand and switch the order of play. You know what I mean? So something like, if they're going to sit there and try to deny your spell, you can sit there and throw something else in, swap it so it denies something else,
Yeah.
So if you're running like a Teemo deck, you can say, okay, I'm just going to junk one of my, one cost shroom spells and kind of just let it eat that instead. So something like that where it's like a deny, but maybe a little bit different, would be great. But I agree. I don't want this to be, every region has deny, you know?
Yeah, it is. That is the one
Mm-hmm.
that is a
So.
little like I don't know. I'm a little salty about that. Like I'm trying to sign into my Gaiazo account because like honestly I have what the deny is. I mean you can find them all over Reddit, but it was literally
Mm-hmm.
this guy was gonna mystic shot my character. That was my Fiora. I needed one more hit on it, and I would have got it. He mystic shot. I denied. He denied my deny.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then I denied his deny. Then he denied me again, and I had no more denies.
Yeah, I've definitely seen them like 4 or 5 deep before, but it's I'd rather almost bait them out like that than just every single turn feel like I'm wasting mana and just
Oh
getting
yeah,
shot down.
yeah. Well, then I had to
You know?
surrender because I had no more win conditions that game. Like I had basically no more cards.
Yeah, yep. I've been there, but playing anything else or just kind of sticking to the deck that you kind of talked about a little bit here.
Um, yeah, I've mostly just been running Control Brom. I tried to run Fiora. I tried to run Casanova's Fiora,
Okay.
and I did not have any. I didn't have any luck. I think I went like 0-3 with it, and I just kind of got frustrated because every time I'd rock it, I'd play against a deck that completely counters it, and I'd just get
Mm-hmm.
unlucky. Then the second
Yeah.
I'd switch to my Braum Trinda deck, my control deck, then I'd face what it would have been strong against.
That's how it always works, though. I
Yeah,
feel like
gotta
it's
love it.
it's like almost these games know, like when you sit there and say, okay, fine, I'm gonna play what clearly counters what I've been seeing. It's all of a sudden like a great matchup for what you would have been.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've been playing a little bit. There's a Zed Lucian deck that I just stumbled across the other day, posted by Jones AF. I believe he's one of the top people that got to Masters recently. It's like I know a couple people have gotten there this week. He's one of them, and he ran this Zed Lucian aggro deck, and I've been having pretty good luck with it. I mean, I've also been playing a little bit of the elusive one that we're going to be talking a little bit later in the show, but I'm really digging the
Well, the
kind
quick
of the super
attack.
hiker aggro one.
Yeah, the quick attack is like it's not even that. It's a double attack. Like when he levels up,
Mm-hmm.
he gets a double attack, and
As
it's
does what's her name, Senna.
Senna. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
which is kind of neat as a follower because you can get 3 Sennas out that can level up and just get these double attacks.
yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like I like that there's more meta evolving, and I knew it was gonna happen. The first week,
Oh yeah.
everyone's running the same shit. This card game is a lot different compared to other ones because it's more so how you draw your win conditions compared to
Mm-hmm.
in other
Mm-hmm.
games like Hearthstone that it's just you just win the game if you run a certain deck most of the time unless it's the same deck against each other
Mm-hmm.
and
Well, it's because I feel like the meta kind of is forced to evolve because, like, so let's say in Hearthstone, for example, it's one person a turn is really playing cards. I mean, there's a little bit of difference here and there, but like it's hey, if you get first, you play, the opponent gets the coin, then they get a play, and that's kind of how they make up for it. Here, it's just look, we're gonna alternate back and forth. So there's definitely strategy of, do I play my cards and spend my mana now, or do I hold off and wait, or what's the plan? Uh, because you may say, okay, when we talk about deny, you say I may want to bait that out now by playing like low cost spells,
yeah.
get that deny to show, and then after the attack phase, play like the big board clear. Once they think that they're clear. So it's it's definitely forcing, because there's so many different ways to play and times to play, and kind of, juggling, 10 different plates going at once, so to speak.
Yeah, that's how I
You
literally
know,
just won a game before we started the podcast. It was I
mhm.
played an avalanche card, cleared this guy's full board. He would have wrecked me. He had like two shark chariots that would have came
Mm.
out. He had Zed. He had everything. So I was just lucky. I was able to play that card, and then he couldn't do shit.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's pretty fantastic. So I mean, and it's kind of one of those things too that I know every week we're going to be kind of highlighting a deck that is, in our opinion, still good in the meta. But it's funny because we'll pick a deck, we're going to say we're going to talk about it, and then by the time the show kind of posts, it's not as popular. So it's kind of nice about the one that we're going to talk about. I'm not going to jump the gun here too much, but it's Swim's Elusive Burn Deck. It's still a great deck, even though you don't see as many people playing just straight elusives anymore, and it has no champion cards, so it's pretty cheap to make. I think it only has one card that is even epic, and so apart from that, you can definitely craft this deck relatively quickly. I mean, as long as you can sit there and get those dawn speakers out, you need three of them, and those are the epic cards. It's not bad. Everything else is kind of rare and commons. Um, so it's definitely something when we get to it. If anybody's listening and you're still looking for a good, relatively cheap deck to craft, I would strongly, strongly encourage looking into it. But you good jumping into the news here, Koza,
Yeah,
or do you
yeah.
want
Let's
to
do
kind
it.
of keep talking? So a couple things happened, within about the past week. Some happened before we went live last time. But since it was kind of an intro episode, we wanted to hold it off until now. But one of the big things that everybody was talking about for a while was the PC Gamer. They released an article where they did an interview with the executive producer of Legends of Runeterra, Jeff Geo, to kind of just talk about the game and their thoughts, their concerns, just any questions that they had about it. And it covered all kinds of topics. So I mean, we're going to touch on some of the big bullet points, but I definitely encourage you guys, if you haven't had a chance, to go read it, because we actually did see some of the changes that they talked about, or some of the issues that were brought up in this patch that came out as well. So like the biggest thing for me, Kozer, was they asked, saying, hey, look, there's card games popping up left and right, I mean, on mobile, PC, it seems like they pop up and then they're dead within a year. And the one thing that they said about Legends of Runeterra that made me feel good was that Riot is committed to treating it with the same level of service and commitment as they do to League. And League being kind of, in my opinion, the MOBA, like the number one MOBA in the world. And again, my opinion, I don't know if there's more Dota players, prize pools, all that kind of good stuff.
Prize
But I
pool is
mean,
more insane in Dota, but in my opinion, League of Legends has just been a staple, and
yeah,
I feel like the league, like I hear about League of Legends way more than I hear about Dota. Even
yeah,
though
yeah,
Dota is a harder game to play and requires
no
a little
doubt.
bit more skill than League of Legends, it's I don't know. I still prefer. I think League is bigger in
I
my
agree.
opinion.
And yeah, and so like I mean, even if they were to do like half of the commitment as they do to League, this would be a fantastic game. But to hear them sit there and say, "Hey, look, Riot is fully invested in it," they're doing everything they can to continue to support this game, and continue to release cards, and let the meta evolve and all that kind of stuff is good in my mind.
Yeah, for sure.
Another big thing is that they did say, during the beta period, they're mostly focusing on balancing and patching. So they do have creative ideas to keep the game, going fresh, month after month. But, being in beta, and I think this is something that we all kind of expected, is they really want to look and say, hey, look, is everything balanced the way that we thought it was when releasing? Or is there, cards or, keywords that we need to adjust? I mean, obviously, when you have a room of testers or a very select number of beta testers, it's going to be very different than when you give basically general access to everybody in an open beta,
Yeah.
because people are just going to find things that you never thought of as a developer.
Oh, of course.
Uh,
They already
yeah. So I
have.
mean, yeah. So I mean, it's one of those things that, they're primarily sitting here saying, let's focus on balancing and getting the game in a good position for global launch, which they say is going to be shortly. And I believe mobile, if I read it correctly, is going to be launching at the same time.
Yes, it was.
Uh,
That's what it said. Unless they
yeah,
change
so
it, and including on that note, TFT actually just announced today that they'll be releasing the mobile in March. So you're gonna see me playing that a little bit
yep,
until LOR is out on mobile.
yep. With what they said, select countries even before March. So I mean, I wouldn't be
Yeah,
surprised
it's
if
gonna be
we see
North
some of it.
America. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
stuff like that.
So yeah, that'll be definitely something to kind of hold me over until this gets on mobile. But when
Yeah.
this is on mobile, I'm telling you, I'm done. It's just going to be every time I'm sitting at the couch with a little bit of free time, I'm going to be
Oh
playing
yeah,
this
hundred
game.
percent. Be able to watch
So,
this, lay down, watch anime, and just chill out.
exactly, exactly. So yeah, so mobile launch. They said it's going to be shortly global. Keep it balanced. They do have creative ideas. What they did say, which is kind of nice, is that they want to focus on people being able to build full decks by about the end of 3 or 4 weeks instead of the whole like making do with what we have feeling. So we talked a little bit last episode about, there being all kinds of like pay to win restrictions in place right now. And the first weeks definitely felt like people saying, okay, I don't have card A, so I need to supplement it with something. But and definitely the way that I'm feeling after a couple weeks out now is I feel like by the end of a month, I'm definitely going to have enough to make quite a few, S tier decks, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Uh, and that's with putting very limited real world money in. I mean, I put a little bit in basically just to buy 3 champion wild cards every week. Just
yeah.
that way I can kind of buff up that level. But you get, rares and commons and, enough crafting materials at a pretty good pace to build out the rest.
Especially in the regions. Like I just completed level 8 on all of my regions,
Mm-hmm.
and it's you get so much crap from them. Like now I'm going to be working on the pult what is it?
The
Piltover and
yep,
Zon.
and yep,
I'm working on that one right now just because like it just has more of the intricate things in that deck. Like I eventually do want to make like a crazy Heimer deck, and like right now, that's what I'm missing. I'm missing one Heimer because I wanted to try this new Heimer deck that Casa and
yep.
Bagel was talking about that they were theory crafting. I think it was yesterday or the day before on stream,
Does
but
that run Ezreal in it? If I'm thinking
no,
the same.
no. A lot of
Okay.
people are
'Cause
actually
there's-
finding Ezreal a little underwhelming, to be honest.
yeah, I mean Ezreal. So I ran the only reason why I asked is I have a Heimer Ezreal deck, and it's okay. I mean, it's basically you just don't want to play Ezreal at all almost until you get him fully leveled up. So it's nice that he doesn't have to see like his level up condition, so he can be in your deck and you can start leveling him.
Mm,
But if not, it's kind of a pain. So like the deck I play, it's a whole bunch of spells and Heimer and Ezreal basically.
that's what it is.
And yeah, and so it's just get the spells out, level up your Ezreal, and then put him on board, and then just keep going with these 1 mana spells or 2 mana spells, and just every time you're dealing 2 damage to Nexus, just with Ezreal just being
Yeah,
on board.
yeah, no, absolutely. Like the big thing with the Heimer decks is using three mana spells quite a bit. You have a chance. There's only I think 2 or 3 that happen with 3 mana, and basically what you're gonna get is you're gonna get elusive cards that are three
Yep.
and one, and
Yep. Yeah.
it's pretty nice. Like there's a lot of one thing that I did see in the beta that I'm kind of surprised I'm not seeing as much anymore, but it's because a lot of people are underwhelmed as also with Karma is
Mhm.
Karma Heimer. That shit was super annoying to deal with
Yeah.
during beta. Like the expedition beta that I was a part of. Like not
Okay.
not now. People aren't really running it anymore because everyone's focusing on elusive and Shadow
Yeah.
Isles just because S size it's just too strong.
Yeah.
all of the
Yeah.
decks that come out of there, most of the top decks with the highest win rates are still Shadow Isles,
Yeah.
with a couple of other variations of decks that are close. So
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, it's kind of a cool thing, and that's I think one thing that we're kind of stating here, which they also stated in the interview, was that they really wanted to make the game feel different every week. Like last week, we weren't really talking about the Heimer deck. He wasn't even on our radar. This week we are. Next week that'll probably be gone. There'll be something new.
Yeah.
It'll probably be like a Jinx deck or a Teemo deck or something weird. So if that's their goal, like they say it is, at least for now, it feels like they're hitting that goal.
Yeah, no, for sure.
They also talked about like they want to sit there and not go with the knee-jerk reaction of uncapping the wild cards that you can buy with real world money. They understand the frustration, but I think they're pretty open to why they're doing it.
Yeah.
So
I literally have 13 decks right now, and maybe like 3 of them are really close to each other. There are a couple of variations of Fiora decks that I made. But honestly, I have at least 5 or 6 different decks that are considered S tier with decent win rates and can win games easily. Like, even if you're going 2 for 1, you're still winning more than you're losing. And we're 3 weeks in? 2 weeks in?
Yeah, so it's 2.5, almost 3, yeah.
Yeah, so like we're almost about to get another vault, and we're getting a vault next Tuesday coming up, and or this Tuesday, not next, this Tuesday,
Yep.
And it just feels like I did the same as you. I basically every week, I buy 3 wild cards and spend the other on just some blues and some greens.
Yeah,
and
I did spend coin on other stuff, but we'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
You know what I spent it on.
Well, yeah, I will be too when I have the funds for it.
Yeah, but so they did that. They're aware of the UI element last week, so they're
100%.
hoping to implement some changes there. The one thing that was kind of interesting that they talked about, which is funny because typically when you see kind of articles like this and like PC gamers or whatever, it's more talk about the game in general, but they did ask about elusives, which is what was on everybody's mind. And basically what Riot said is it's too early to make any changes to elusives in their mind. They believe that there's all kinds of counterplays to elusives. They're just waiting on the community to develop those types of decks. And we talked about that a little bit earlier, that we're not seeing as many elusives being played because people are starting to develop counters.
Or running elusives ourselves.
Yeah, pretty much, which in itself is a counter. So I mean, it's like some of them, like there's cards that have challengers, so you can pull them out. We talked about Purify, that you can just remove the keywords. You got board wipe clears like Avalanche, because a lot of elusives maybe have like 2 or 3 health before getting buffed. So I mean, it's not impossible to kind of solve that problem.
Cat's watching you right now. He's not anymore, but he was literally just staring at you like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean, but so yeah, it's kind of funny, that they touched on that. The other big news this week is obviously the first patch since open beta hit.
Yes.
Patch 0.83. And what they said in it, which was interesting, is they said,
there you go.
You're pulling up. So basically they're saying, hey, look, we're going to keep an eye on the XP system. One of the things that people have found out and what they've been doing is they've more or less been either jumping into games and auto surrendering, or they're just grinding out AI matches super, super quickly, just to max out their XP per day. So like there's a limited amount of XP that you can get every day. And so people, to try to get to that level 13 to get 3 diamond chests every week, they feel like we have to do this, or else we're missing XP and we're not really getting, through the region unlocks or through the vaults quick enough or anything like that. So they're going to keep an eye on that XP system because they don't want people to feel like they have to do that.
I do it every night. Every night, yep. I do my AI games. I get my 50, 50, 50. I think you get 200 with 50s, and then like something like another 200 or something with 25 XP. I don't exactly know. I know someone's wrote it down somewhere. It just also depends because I also play other games too. And I think in AI, if you've lost a lot of games too, eventually you start getting less XP as well. because
Mm-hmm.
they can't just keep throwing XP at you. Well, at least that's their thought process is they can't keep throwing XP at you even after you lose a certain amount of games.
Yep. The next big one, and I think the thing I'm most excited for, is they did release 3 new Guardians. So those are kind of like your little avatar things in the core of whenever you play. They released Basilisk, Silverwing, and then by far the best one, Gloomtooth,
Oh yeah,
which is basically just your spectral shark, and he is fantastic. I absolutely love what's it called, that avatar. So that is what I did spend a little bit of cosmetic coin
and I
on
will be
this
too.
week.
Gloomtooth is amazing. I haven't. If I'm being honest, I was considering how crazy they went with their artwork on cards and everything. I was kind of underwhelmed with their first 3 avatars, and I
I
was
I
not in a
was
rush to buy them.
I was too. I bought Gromp Jr. just because it's a jungler to
Oh,
Gromp.
you
But what
cut out for 2 seconds there.
Oh, sorry. I said as a jungler in League, I bought Gromp Jr. just because I felt like I owed it to him. But the one thing I noticed is if you look at the Guardians, they do have a rarity on them of common. And so even like
Yeah,
Gloomtooth and things like that. So it makes me wonder like what are the epic ones gonna look like? What are the rare ones gonna
they're
look
gonna
like?
do like TFT. I feel like what's my favorite one? The one that does the Dragon Ball Z,
I know,
Rasha. What's his
yeah.
name?
I know who you're
Raza.
talking about.
Yeah, I
I
don't
don't know
remember
the
his
name of it.
name, but that's one of my favorite one. But the epic on that one is just crazy looking. It's some like
Yeah.
Goku looking shit. It's amazing. I love it.
Mm-hmm. Let me see what else. The rest of them aren't so big. Don't really need to talk too much. Increased animation speed on your sows, recall and stun damage. New installs of Legends of Runeterra are going to have a smaller initial download size, so you can play the tutorials while the rest of the game downloads in background. That's good. They fixed the issue where
This
your
this one
wild
is
cards aren't showing.
Yeah, this is actually the
Yeah,
biggest fix in the whole game. Like, all the other stuff is cool, but that was really frustrating when you'd be in the store. And they also updated it so now I know for a little while there, I didn't know how many cards I owned of one, but now it shows a little number if you have 3, it
yep,
won't show a number at all because it just shows that you have the max amount of cards.
yep.
But if you only have 1 or 2 of that, it will tell you on the side, which is awesome. I love that.
Yeah, yeah. So they definitely made a little bit of a UI and quality of life change there, which is great. They did fix an issue where players weren't correctly receiving cards after purchasing them with wild cards. Kind of a big deal. Um, Other minor stuff, minor social panel issues, delays, unresolved notifications, all that. Used cast salesman now shows up in expeditions archetypes. I've actually used him in my expeditions this week. Aneva now correctly appears in the archetypes rather than 3. Reduced volume on the box and threshes the box. Again, small stuff. T-Hex, which is another guardian. Leg rotation fixed in celebration. And then,
Solid.
yeah, and then improve resolution on T-Hex and Poro collection images. So again, most of it is small bugs, things like that, nothing major. Obviously, the big one is the purchasing of wild cards, the new guardians, and them kind of keeping an eye on the XP system. In my opinion, would you agree or anything else? Do you think
Yeah, no,
were
100%.
huge?
Like it is it's kind of frustrating about the whole surrendering thing and like the XP cap. Again, like we talked about last week, I understand. I'm not gonna beat a dead donkey. Like it's there for a reason. The one thing that is nice is yesterday I knew I only needed 200 XP and I was able to do my surrender games and then just go to bed. So that was
Mm,
kind of nice, knowing that I didn't have to punch a hole through my desk playing more elusive decks, or
yeah,
I was having a rough night yesterday, so
I
it
hear
was safe to surrender.
you. Awesome. But speaking of running decks and things like that, so one thing that we're going to kind of try to do here every week is, like we said earlier in the show, is highlight a deck breakdown for y'all. And again, these are ones that were either in the meta that we've played, that we like, that we're familiar with, maybe things that we haven't played or haven't constructed, but everybody else is running. So we're trying to break down exactly what's going on with it. This one is actually done by Swim. It's his Elusive Burn Deck. Again, if you don't follow Swim on Twitch, YouTube, whatever, go follow him. He is a fantastic player. He is a very good teacher. He has a
Yes.
video out right now that talks about what to look for and what to do whenever you're crafting your own decks, like some common pitfalls, things like that. So I would very, very strongly encourage go check out his YouTube channel. On Mobalytics, you can actually look up all the decks that he's put in there, and kind of pick which ones you like. He actually has a pretty good description on each one as to how, or I don't know if everyone, but most of them that I've seen, as to how to play them and what they're good against, what they're bad against. So he's a very, very good decksmith, and
As you can
very
see,
skilled
this
player.
is all of his decks he's made since the first beta. He's
Yeah.
updated some of these, but that's a lot of decks.
Yeah, and people that are just listening to the audio version, as he said, a lot of decks. I mean, we're looking at well over 20 decks or so there.
I think there was like at least between 20 and 30.
Yeah, so he's pretty aggressive and fast forward with theory crafting, what could work, what doesn't work, what he's playing, and all that good stuff. But again, the one that we're doing now is Elusive Burn Deck. What's kind of unique about this, as we mentioned earlier, no champion cards. So you don't have to sit there and, spend 300, what's it called, coin to get the card. You don't have to spend 3,000 of the shards to, craft champion shards. It is primarily focused around, rares, commons, and one epic card to play. So it is a hyper aggressive deck. The goal is basically to buff your elusive units and just kind of plow through your opponent before they get a chance to really respond. The longer you go into games like this, especially with this deck, or the more counters that the enemy has, the less likely you're going to win. There's definitely, in my mind, like a turn clock going. And if you start getting to like turn 8, turn 9, and you're not close to finishing them off or at there, you're probably going to lose because they're just going to keep stuff to counter you.
100%.
So again, it's definitely one of those ones that you just want to go face with your units. If you can take a hit or two and keep a unit on the board for next time and they have no response, you take the hit, you let the turn come to you, you automatically attack before they get a chance to play something that's going to be able to counter you. So it's like I said, hyper aggressive. There is 3 copies of Deny in it. We talked a little bit about before. So basically, you're using that to keep your board pressure under control. If they're playing like an Avalanche, if they're playing something like a Purify Burst, I can't remember. Let me look.
Yes,
Yeah, Purify's Burst, so that doesn't work. But basically, anything that's buffing their units to kill you out. If they do pull you with a challenger, there's enough buffs in this deck that you should be able to have your units relatively topped off. The big one, in my opinion, probably the most important card in this deck is and I'm going to butcher this pronunciation, Kozer, the Kinkau Lifeblade, Kinku.
Kinku Lifeblade is how I'm hearing most people pronounce it.
Okay, Kinku Lifeblade works for me. So yeah, so it's a 4 mana 2/3 at base elusive unit with lifesteal.
Yeah.
And so the reason why this is such a great card in this deck is there are cards like Inspiring Mentor that you can sit there and buff onto him. So basically, turn 1, if he's in your hand, you throw Inspiring Mentor down, you buff him up, he suddenly goes from a 2/3 to a 3/4. There are Navori Conspirators, which is a 3/2, and to play him, you actually have to recall an ally. So basically, turn 1, you play your Inspiring Mentor. Turn 2, you play the Conspirator. Turn 3, you can play Inspiring Mentor again, and suddenly you're looking at a 4/5 on turn 4.
Yeah, and Laurent Bladekeeper is the same idea. Because you also got to remember you have 2 Will of Ionias too, so that's usually to run a defense. But you can also use it as a way to buff your characters even more if you know that they're not running Ionia and they have no elusives.
Yeah, and again, for people on audio version, I can't see exactly what Laurent is and aren't familiar. He's a 4 mana 2/3 unit. When you play him, you grant an ally 2/2. So basically, turn 4, you're throwing your Life Blade down. Turn 5, if you can put Laurent on him, you know, suddenly he's just getting snowbally and a
It's
little bit of
Laurent.
out of control.
Laurent is French.
Laurent Bladekeeper. He is, isn't he?
Yeah, Laurent Bladekeeper, and who's the other one? I don't know. There's a couple of Laurents in the game.
Yeah. But so yeah, so basically you're just buffing your elusive units. Um, you also have your Dawn speakers on here. So you
Yes,
with so
huge.
many one cost units, you basically know they're gonna die. Like your fleet feather trackers, one cost 2/1 that you can get challenger on, your inspiring mentors, green glade duo, all that kind of good stuff. That when they die, as long as your Dawn speaker is just hanging out on your bench, end of turn, they're buffing everything else on your bench 1/1. So you got 3 copies of that. If you got 2 or 3 of them out at a time, suddenly things get a little snowbally.
And also, this is a huge card too that can literally win you a game, especially if you're falling behind. You can also throw this on Kinku, and this will give
Mm-hmm.
you major healing. That's
Yeah. Because that's one of the things that if you're up against another hyper aggressive deck, the Kinku what's nice about him is with that lifesteal is you can let them kind of go through unblocked if they don't have a response and you're just healing it back up.
yeah.
Uh, so you're really dictating pace of game. The downside is whenever you're sitting there. One thing we didn't talk about too is there is a 3 cost assassin. Card drawing games like this are always great. So basically, you play her, you can summon her, you get to draw a card. Again, if you have Navori Conspirator in your deck, you pull her back, you can draw another card. So basically, you're just getting more and more in your hand to continue to working. One thing that you do need to be careful of, and I'm terribly guilty of this, is don't stack everything on one card. Because there's cards like Detain in the game that
Yes, with Shadow.
basically
Is it
what they're
Shadow
going to do,
or
yeah,
Noxus? No, it's
is
Noxus. It's Noxus.
yeah. So it's essentially what it does is it says, okay, we're gonna we're gonna have one of our units capture a unit of yours, and what it does is that unit is think of it like magic if you have it underneath the card that you can't get that unit to play back until you kill what takes it. So if you're going into like a '07 Braum or an '08 Braum, uh, that's going to be problematic. It's going to be hard to kill if everything you had on is on a one card.
Yeah.
You know, because then suddenly you have nothing to kill to get it off. So make sure you spread the level around a little bit, which is why Dawn Speakers is great because you don't have to sit there and waste cards on it. Just let an ally die, buff everything on bench.
This is also probably a card we should talk about a little bit too. So Rally is really nice as well. So if you have a turn where you know that they can't really defend your elusives, it's another way to just get a quick burn on their board, and especially if you're running a couple of elusives, this is really good at just letting you attack again in the same
Yeah,
turn. Even if it was the enemy's turn to attack, you can attack in the same turn, or you can attack twice during your turn with
yeah,
Rally.
yeah. Um, what's it called? We
Oh,
talked
and
about that again. You want to watch board clears. You want to watch things like Avalanche,
yeah.
Foul Feast, Mystic Shot, does 2 damage anything, Calling Strike, all those kind of big things. So again, it's really really smart that you're keeping enough health on all of your elusives that these board clears can't do everything at once.
Yeah, like another thing, like he even writes it here is you need to be watching out for Vengeance, which is part of Shadow decks, Will of Ionia, which is Ionia, because if you buff too many things on one card, if they recall your unit or they use Vengeance, there is no way other than a deny to stop Vengeance from killing you. A barrier doesn't protect you.
Okay.
Nothing protects you from a card that says kill a unit
Okay.
unless you recall it or you deny it. Those are the only
Okay.
ways, as far as I understand, that you can get out of it.
Well, I think if you recall a unit, actually, if it
Well, that's
hasn't
what I
been
said.
captured, you don't get it
Recall.
back. Yeah. You don't get that thing back. But I think that pretty much covers it. Again, give it a shot. Pretty easy, cheap to build, in my opinion, especially at this point in the game life cycle. But Kozer, I know you had an honorable mention deck.
Yes, but I also wanted to say one thing: is we're
Sure.
idiots. Um, there's a lot of elusive cards. I forgot about the Poro that's elusive. I forgot about
Yep.
The Silver Wing is actually Demacia. Elusive. I think there's elusive in all of the decks, except for Shadow. I don't think Shadow has elusive. I can't remember, but there's tons of elusive cards out there. That's why elusives are a little strong right now,
Yeah,
because
very true.
they're not in every single region, but they are around. I played against a Poro yesterday that was using, it was basically the Poro deck you want to make, the fluffed of Poro. He
Yeah.
rocked his whole board with Poros, and then he literally had an elusive Poro that had 17 something. I was able to block that and kill his game with Tryndamere, though, so it was kind of nice. I
Yeah.
somehow won that game, and he was very sad. He was doing the Poro crying because I was able to block it somehow. Don't ask me how, but I figured it out.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a kind of a cool, like kind of like I like that lonely pour just for that, because there's so many kind of cool in the game to kind of play with, which is nice.
So, anyways, my honorable mention is basically Fiora deck. So this is a Fiora Karma. I've seen different variations with some with just Fiora, some with Karma, 3 Fiora, 1 Karma, 2 Karma. It really just depends. A lot of people have been using Fiora to actually make their run to Master from Diamond. Casanova did it. Bagel did it. Trying to think of a couple other people that did it. Hype did it. This is actual Hype stack for Liquid. But there's a bunch of people that are using this Fiora deck, and basically what it is it's keep Fiora alive, buff Fiora, and finish. Like we talked about this a little bit last week, or not last week, in the last episode, that if you kill 4 enemies with Fiora,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
you win the
Which
game.
is which is too easy to do in my opinion,
It is and it isn't.
especially with some cards.
It is and it isn't. It's very easy to get countered. And it's like the same idea. If you buffer too much and you're playing against a deck that has Detain, which Noxus Shadow Isles is still a pretty common deck right now. I'm kind of happy that it's going away a little bit. It seems like it's mostly Shadow Isles Ionia now. So the only thing you really have to worry about is Deny. Judgment is huge in this deck, like we talked about before. And it does run a lot of elusives as well. So this is kind of an elusive burn, but with champions. So it's a little different, and Redouble Valor is big for Fiora because you can fully heal her and double her health. And there are a couple of barriers. This is a little bit different from the beta Fiora that we were seeing, at least that I was even playing with, that you were rocking Shen, is you weren't just barriering. And the reason why barrier doesn't work that well is because a lot of people are playing Shadow Isles, which I found was not as popular. When I at least was playing beta, I didn't find as many Shadow decks. I was seeing a lot of Piltover, a lot of Ionia, mostly, and Frel.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't seeing Shadow Isles as much, at least the players that I was playing against. So stuff like Detain wasn't there. Stuff like Vengeance wasn't there. So that's definitely changed the way you do it, because putting a barrier on it doesn't really matter. It doesn't do anything. So
Yeah.
and this is a big thing. I'm really glad that this card. I noticed it the first week we were playing, and I thought Purify was going to be popular, but it took a little while for a lot of people to start using it, and I'm kind of confused why. It's huge. It's really huge. It really is.
I mean, I don't think that people felt like. I'm sorry, my cat has been
it's
hanging
okay.
out on my
He's
table the whole time and just bugging the heck out of me. But I don't think people used it as much at the beginning, only because I think some people underestimated how impactful some keywords are going to be, and just how some of the text on the cards can really change a game. Like, people know things like Braum and regeneration. Obviously, that's a problem, but you can get around it.
Yeah.
But then whenever you really start looking at things like, elusive, we didn't really think, or like, we didn't even really consider, the text on the card, not even so much the keywords, like anything that's like, you have support units, like where it's sitting there, like Shen. Like, hey, if I can remove the
You
text off
actually can only use it on followers.
on fault, but you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
if you can, like, Shen just is.
Rasha, I feel like I don't know this. I need to test it, but I don't know if this counters Rasha without using deny. I think if you remove the text word, wouldn't that cancel out the play
But
of removing your 2 weakest units?
so I haven't tested it. I would assume not, because when you play Rasha, it actually pops up his skill as an action. You know what I mean? Which is why deny works against it. So I don't think removing the keywords at that point would do anything. Now I think something like and let me get the name of the card down correctly here.
Yeah, both these are skills, so I could be wrong. I don't, but no, because it's a slow. So you see, people like Commander, if you actually silence him, that's perfect because he doesn't have last breath anymore.
That's what
That's
I was
why I
about
think
to
a
say.
lot of people are running Purify, because I actually think, well, this is a slow, so you do have to deny this. So yeah, no, I don't think it removes this. Once the card is played, I don't think it will remove the Blade
Yeah.
of Ledros.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's nice because it will cut this out. And same thing with Rasha, it won't really matter. I think you need to deny because I think it's a
Yeah.
slow as well. Let me go back and
Yeah.
check.
Yeah. Like I said, the thing with Commander is, though, obviously
Yeah, it's a slow.
last breath done, and so he can't just keep doing it. You can't keep letting them summon a 8/6 on every turn after turn 8.
Yeah.
But yeah, Rasha, I mean, I think that just goes through without, you have to have the deny.
Well, I've seen Swim win with Commander Ledros. Uh, he just keeps summoning it until he got this guy's core to 1, and then summoned it one more time, and well, cutting it in half is 0.
That's what I've always wondered, is because like technically half 1.5, I was like, does the game just round that up to 1? Like, will you
Yes, it rounds it
never?
up to 1. You win the video game. It's confusing, but you
Hmm.
actually win the video game.
Yeah, yeah, that's something I haven't tried, so I wouldn't know.
And there's another card that goes with it that's huge. Mark of Isles is being used quite a bit, especially if you know your unit's gonna die.
Mm-hmm.
In
Yeah,
a lot
very
of the
much so.
shadow. Where's the one? I need to find Shadow Isle. I just want to find the one card.
What does it do? What
That's
you
what I'm
thinking
trying to
of?
remember. Yes, this is the card. Atrocity. So kill an
Mm.
ally to deal damage equal to
Yep.
its power to anything. So a lot of people
Yep.
are using this and Commander
Yep.
to kill the commander because he comes back with last breath and you get
Yep.
returned to your hand, and it also does 8 damage, and you can aim exactly at their nexus. That's one thing I feel like they need to switch it and make it so that it can only aim at another enemy, because it is a little strong. It really is.
It is, but it's a high enough cost, like you said. So, like, let's say you use it for Commander, you can only do that every other turn, because even if you have 10 with a max 3 spell, you're gonna still be 1 mana short to be able to play Commander and Atrocity in a single turn. So you still give a chance for your opponent to remove Commander themselves before they
But
have a chance to do that. Now, granted, getting 6 damage
But
on
mind you,
something
you
is
can
tough,
play a
but
Rasha after if you have a Rasha, because that's
that is true.
7,
That is true.
which is still nutty. Which is still like the problem with Shadow is if it gets early game, it can overpower your board. And what's huge right now
Mhm.
is Mist Wraiths and where's the other? There's another Wraith Caller. So
Yep.
these are the new this week. That's what everyone's running with Shadow Isle. It's you just overload your board. That's what Shadow Isles is good for, is
Yeah.
overloading your board either with um,
They're very much like a zoo type of
ephemeral or
deck.
it's a cool
It,
deck. It's got cool mechanics, but some of the stuff is really hard to play against and very frustrating. Even
yeah.
more so than Deny, I find. I can deal with deny. Deny's annoying and can lose you a game, but it's at least if the player
Yeah.
outplayed you, like that player did outplay me, technically. He had 2 denies just like me. He had the mana for them. He outplayed me.
Okay.
That's my
Yeah.
fault.
Yep. Yep.
So,
I hear you.
anyways, that's I'm gonna be posting all of the links for these
Yes.
decks in with the Casanova variation of Fiora without Karma. In the YouTube description, I'm gonna probably do it on Podbean, but some of the platforms that we put it on doesn't really do the links properly. So unfortunately, you will have to kind of decipher it and copy and paste it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that should give you enough information, and I'll also add the article in case some people missed it on PC Gamers if you actually want to read everything about it. It's a really good read.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, and like I said, I mean, obviously, anything like this, keep up to date with the Twitter, keep up to date on the YouTube descriptions. We're gonna post as much as we absolutely can in Twitter, understanding that there's the character limit. But we should have links, available for you guys to be able to reach out to those too. Or, we'll have the creators of these decks tagged, so you can go ahead and see them and support them as you kind of go on. But Coz, before I think as far as I'm concerned, we're getting close to that hour mark. We haven't already hit it. I know we said we try to keep it to an hour for people, but I think that's all I got for today. Any kind of last words from you before we start plugging the Twitter and everything?
Not really that I can think of. Yeah, no, I'm good. I think we basically covered everything we wanted to talk about.
Awesome. Yeah. So again, everybody, if you enjoy the show, like I said, we are now on pretty much all the major platforms. So it's like YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, all that good stuff. The one thing we would appreciate,
Stitcher,
yeah, Stitcher. I mean,
Google
the one thing,
Music.
the one thing we would appreciate is if you do stumble across us on any of those platforms, like, comment, 5-star reviews if you enjoy the show. It does help us to continue to get a little bit of traction for whenever people are searching for Legends of Runeterra, so we can continue to keep putting on these shows for you guys. Hopefully reach out to a larger audience. If you want to follow us on Twitter and you haven't already, the Twitter account is at Poro Weekly, and that's weekly with an A, so at Poro, WEAKLY. You can find us there. YouTube, you can find us, as Kozer mentioned earlier at the show, just by searching for the Weekly Poro Report. You will see us in YouTube come up there. You can find the video versions of the podcast and the recordings there as well. One big thing that you'll find on both Twitter and YouTube is the Discord community link. Again, we are slowly building up a community, so you guys will be able to ask questions, play with each other, understand whenever we start kicking off tournaments, how to participate in those. So it'll be something to definitely keep an eye on and join if you are a Discord user. Let's talk a little bit about personal, contact stuff. Koza, where can they find you?
You can find me at twitch.tv Kozer_88 and also YT Kozer88 on YouTube. And my Twitter account is Kozer88.
Awesome. For myself, if you are looking to find me, I am on at Smithel Gaming, SMITHEL Gaming. You can also find me at Twitch, and I actually remembered the Twitch this time. I know last week I kind of mind blanked on it, but it is twitch.tv/Smithel. And then obviously as you reach out to us on any of these platforms, if you have any questions or anything you'd like us to focus on or discuss on show, you can message us on either of our individual platforms, reach us out there, or on the Poro Weekly Twitter. Leave a YouTube comment, the Discord, anything like that. We do check those pretty regularly. Once we start getting a larger collection of the questions, we'll begin, doing a Q&A session at the end of these as well. To hopefully help you guys climb or answer any questions the best that we can. And if we don't, we will happily try to go to the pros for answers to them for you. And see if we can address those for the community.
Should we do
But
some connections with some of those guys
we do.
to get you some more information. Also, something I did want to mention on some of the platforms that were syndicated across for the podcast, you will notice that it's if you just write weekly Poro report, it won't actually pop up. You have to write the weekly Poro. You don't have to write report, but most of the time, as long as you put the weekly with the A, you should be able to find it.
Yeah. Yeah. And if it tries to do WEEKLY,
It's not gonna work.
it'll let you change it. But yeah, like I said, follow us there. Obviously, the best way is, if you get us on Twitter, we'll have links to everything there.
Yep.
But again, that's it for me. So, Kozer, appreciate you joining me again here. Next week, keep an eye on the Twitter. We'll post what deck we're going to be covering and anything else we discuss. So thanks again, Kozer, but I think that's all on my end.
Yep. You guys have a great night.
Take it easy, guys.